Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the July 13, 2023 regular meeting of the City of Moraine Council to order at 6 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Doherty?
Here.
Ms. Marcus?
Here.
Mr. Burchett?
Here.
Mrs. Witt?
Here.
Mayor Murphy?
Here. And if everyone will please stand and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council has copies of the June 22nd, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes or corrections? Okay, hearing none, the minutes are approved as submitted. We have no special presentations, so we will go into reports. Finance Committee, anything to report?
No report, thank you.
Finance Director,
There's no report from finance. Thank you, Mayor.
Committee of the Whole, anything to report?
Yes, our last meeting was on June 22nd, and there will be a meeting tonight following this meeting.
City Manager, anything to report?
I have nothing beyond the written report unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Law Director, anything to report?
I just have one request, Mayor, that's to add a voice vote for liquor permit related to 6363 Farmersville, West Carrollton Road to the end of tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to add that to the agenda.
You've heard the motion. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes,
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes. Clerk of Council, you have a report for us?
Nothing beyond my written report. Thank you.
And I have oath of office for the fire department.
Daniel, if you'll come on up. This is Daniel Amelie. He was born in Columbus, Ohio. He grew up in Westchester, Liberty Township. He went to Lakota East High School. He is a first-generation Asian American with immigrant parents from the country of Laos. He has served a total of 12 years in the U.S. Army with 6 years active duty and is now serving in the Army Reserve. He's currently in the paramedic program at Sinclair Community College. In his spare time, he enjoys riding his motorcycle, watching Netflix, and I'm not sure why he said this. He does this in his spare time, but he said spending time with his wife, Rita. That's what you did tell me. Daniel Amelie.
I, Daniel Amelie, solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution
That I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws
and will obey the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Ohio,
and of the state of Ohio,
that I will,
that I will,
in all respects,
in all respect,
observe the provisions
observe the provisions
of the Charter
of the Charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the City of Moraine,
of the city of Moraine,
and I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of firefighter.
of firefighter.
Congratulations.
Next, we'll have Alexander Alexic. He was born in Columbus, raised in Worthington, Ohio by his mother, Rachel, and his stepdad, Paul Dorothy. He attended Thomas Worthington High School. After graduating, he went to Columbus State Community College to obtain fire and EMT certificates. He is currently attending Columbus State to obtain his paramedic certificates and has plans on working towards his fire science degree. Outside of work, he enjoys activities related to the Boy Scouts. He likes hiking, camping, and outdoor activities, and he's an Eagle Scout with Boy Scout Troop 365. Alexander Alexic.
I, Alex Alexiou,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
and will obey the laws
and will obey the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Ohio,
and of the state of Ohio,
that I will,
that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
observe the provisions
observe the provisions
of the Charter
of the Charter
and the ordinances
and the ordinances
of the city of Moraine,
of the city of Moraine,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of firefighter
the duties of our fire.
Next, we'll have Nathan Ulrich. Nathan's been with us for a little bit. He worked as a part-time firefighter for the city from January 22 until we hired him full-time this year. He grew up in East Dayton. He graduated from Archbishop Carroll High School in 2018, currently serving as a staff sergeant in the Air Force with a background in civil engineering. He recently celebrated his one-year wedding anniversary with his high school sweetheart, Grace. He has 2 dogs, Daisy and Coda, and he said, no children yet. Nathan Ulrich.
solemnly swear or affirm
Solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
and will obey
and will obey
the laws of
the laws of
the United States
the United States
and the state of Ohio,
and the state of Ohio,
and that I will,
and that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
observe the provisions
observe the
provisions
provisions
of the Charter,
of the Charter
the ordinances
and the ordinances
of the city of Moraine,
of the city of Moraine,
and will faithfully
and will faithfully
discharge
discharge
the duties of firefighter.
the duties of firefighter.
So last but not least, for Deputy Chief, we have Tracy Jo Kizminski. She was born and raised in Miamisburg. She currently lives in Clear Creek Township. She's married to Ed with 3 kids, Brandon, Haley, and Jesse. She served 12 years in the Air Force Reserve, where she was first introduced to the fire service by Chief Kirby, which most of you have known in the past. She actually started here in '94 as a part-time firefighter. She left us to go to the city of West Carrollton full-time, but then she returned to us back in 2004. Her husband Ed actually worked for us for how many years, Ed? 12 years. She's looking forward to finishing out her career as deputy chief with the city of Moraine. Tracy Kuzminski.
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and will obey the laws of the United States and of the state of Ohio, that I will, in all respects, observe the provisions of the charter and ordinances of the city of Moraine, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of deputy fire chief.
Angela, stay up there, we get a picture of it.
Well, didn't get to. Okay, now we don't have any guest speakers, so we will go into regular business. You're in the limb. I was gonna say, may as well just wait till I hear. I need to open that door.
Ordinance 2142-23, an ordinance to amend Moraine Codified Ordinance Section 121.04E1 entitled Non-Local Travel and Training Expenses Reimbursement.
This ordinance allows an amendment to the MCO section concerning council travel. This enables council travel legislation to be passed at the end of the previous year instead of the current year. Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ordinance 2143-23, an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned real estate located at 3612 Beech Grove Road and no longer needed for municipal purposes and declaring an emergency.
This ordinance approves the sale of 3612 Beech Grove Road. This property has been determined to be no longer needed for municipal purposes, and after a solicitation of bids an acceptable offer has been submitted. This is on for an emergency reading, so I move to suspend the rules to allow for the second reading and the final adoption at this meeting.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Ms. Marcus,
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Ordinance 2143-23, an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned real estate located at 3612 Beech Grove Road and no longer needed for municipal purposes and declaring an emergency.
This ordinance approves the sale of 4510 East Phoenician Way.
No.
No,
This
no.
property has been,
We're doing,
You're on the wrong one.
it's still you, Dave, because we did the second.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's okay, it was the second one.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to adopt.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Marcus,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Ordinance 2144-23, an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned real estate located at 4510 East Venetian Way and no longer needed for municipal purposes and declaring an emergency.
This ordinance approves the sale of 4510 East Phoenician Way. This property has been determined to be no longer needed for municipal purposes, and after solicitation for bids, and acceptable offer has been submitted. Since this is an emergency measure, I make a move to suspend the rules and allow for the second reading and final adoption at this meeting.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Marcus,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Ordinance 2144-23, an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned real estate located at 4510 East Venetian Way and no longer needed for municipal purposes and declaring an emergency.
Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Marcus,
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Resolution 7955-23, a resolution authorizing the purchase of automated external defibrillators, AEDs, for use by the City of Moraine via Savick Buying Group at a total cost of $37,498.04.
This resolution allows for the purchase of AEDs to be used in public areas in the city of Moraine. This will also enable the fire division to service and maintain the devices in a more efficient way. Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Is there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Ms. Marcus,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Resolution 7956-23, a resolution authorizing the submittal of an application to Montgomery County for Community Development Block Grant CDBG funds in the amount of $150,000 for the installation of ADA curb ramps at Kettering Boulevard and South Dixie Drive.
This resolution approves the CDBG application submittal for 88 curb ramp work at Kettering Boulevard and South Dixie Drive. If approved by Montgomery County, this work would be done in 2024. Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Marcus,
Yes.
Mr. Burchett,
Yes.
Mrs. Witt,
Yes.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Resolution 7957-23, a resolution declaring the items listed on the attached 2023 list to be surplus and no longer needed for municipal purposes, and authorizing the city manager to dispose of such items through GovDeals auction or donation to a nonprofit organization or through a trade-in program.
This resolution states these items are deemed no longer usable by the city and will be disposed of. Motion to approve.
You've heard the motion. Is there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes. The voice vote, do
the voice vote for 6363 Farmersville West Carrollton Road for liquor permit, for D51 new permit. My understanding is both fire and police do not have any objections to this. I don't know if the city manager or either of the chiefs would like to add anything to that. Basically, it's just a voice vote on whether or not to request a hearing.
I provided a email communication to you yesterday that kind of highlighted what Mr. Feltner, the owner on the property, is doing out there. It is a full-blown restaurant. He served over $17,000 in food sales so far. It's had 30 tournaments, and there are certain criteria that has to be met for the B51, and he has done that. That's the minimum square footage, the amount of seating, that these sales will not exceed 25% of the food sales. And so at this point, he has met all the criteria that would allow the state for him to move forward with the permit.
Is all of the liquor sales inside the restaurant, or are they gonna be like serving beer at the event?
It's inside the
It's
restaurant.
all inside?
They have to, what I've been told by Mr. Feltner, I called him yesterday.
Or it doesn't sound like it's turn into a bar eventually?
It is a restaurant, and if activity is strong enough, at some point, he would hold operations on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then it would also, during off-season, it would be for galas or other events or rentals and things like that. He would open up for that as well. He wants to try to make it a year-round activity, but it would not, he does not envision it being a full-service restaurant and bar 7 days a week. It would be more tied to the sport activity.
Any other questions?
Make a motion that we do not ask for a hearing, that we let this go through?
Roll call, please.
Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Mr. Burchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Allen?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes. Okay, we have no persons appearing before council because everybody left. Now we will go to any other business. Fire department, anything to report?
Nothing tonight, thank you, ma'am.
Police department, anything to report?
Yes, ma'am, we just wanted to remind council and our residents that National Night Out is quickly approaching. It's going to be on August 1st, which is a Tuesday at Wax Park. We plan to have double the bounce houses this year. We anticipate the event's going to be bigger and better. More local businesses are joining in to help out. So that's good news, and we're going to stick with the kids versus cops water balloon fight. I don't think we've won yet, but we're hopeful this year. So yeah, we would love to see everyone out. Thank you.
Building and maintenance department, anything to report?
Nothing at this time, ma'am. Thank you.
Street department, anything to report?
Nothing to report, ma'am. Thank you.
Parks and Recreation Director, anything to report?
Yeah, tomorrow night from 6 to 8 at Deer Meadow Park is the Jim McGuire Hook Kids on Fishing event. So take your kids up there, grandkids up there. It'll be a good time. Chandler's added a couple more games and things to that event. So hopefully we get a turnout for it. And then also starting after that will be the week-long fishing derby. So we'll have QR codes all around the pond, and if you catch a fish, take a picture of it, and it goes right to us, and then we'll put people in for a raffle to win a drawing. So Chandler got some donations for that event. Also, I just want to thank all the departments, you at council, all the council members for the 4th of July event. Probably the most people I've seen down there in a long, long time. So I thought it was well done. The fireworks were great. They went obviously a pretty extended time. I thought it was going to be 21 to 23 minutes. It was 26 minutes. So that was great. But literally this event can't work without all these departments working together. And I just want to thank all of them for that. But I did talk to Stranger afterwards. I'm just throwing it out there. They'd love to come back. I don't know if we want them for a third time. I would love to have them. They're great to work with, but I understand if we want to kind of move off of them and bring something else in. So I was just kind of throwing that out there to see if you had any thoughts. I think Stranger does a great job. Jeff Stevens was out in the crowd dancing with kids and all kinds of stuff. So just throwing that out there. But that's all I got.
Community Develop Director, anything to report?
Just a quick note, send an email out to let you know that the Goodwill store will be doing its ribbon cutting on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So if folks would like to come out for that, certainly encourage you all to do that. And I'll touch base with a few of you as we go from there. That's all I have. Thanks.
City Manager, anything further to report?
I have no items, Mayor. Thank you.
Law Director, anything further to report?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Clerk of Council, anything further to report?
I have nothing. Thank you, Mayor.
Miss Allen, anything to report?
Oh, yes, I spoke with several people that attended the 4th of July celebration, and they said it was great. It couldn't have been better. And also, they said the fireworks were spectacular.
Ms. Marcus, anything to report?
Well, first of all, I'd like to echo what Mrs. Allen said about the fireworks. I wasn't able to go because I have 2 dogs that are terrified of loud noises. But from what social media said, people thought the fireworks were better than last year, and they were surprised at how long they went on, and it just sounds like everybody enjoyed them. The other thing I've noticed over the last couple of years, we appear to have, at least in my area, juveniles running the streets at night in groups. I don't know if it's one group or multiple groups. From their voices, I'm thinking we're talking middle school or high school students. And I called the police this morning, a little after 3 o'clock. They were out there going down the street. They were like pushing and shoving. I don't know if it was fun. I don't know if it was fighting. But I'd like to call it to the police department's attention that this was not an isolated incident. It has happened a number of times before. And these kids, it's not good for the kids or the neighborhood to be out there. These kids, if they're out there at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, are probably sleeping through their classes the next day, if they're even showing up for school. So I just wanted to make sure the police department was aware of this so that we can get something done before they get themselves in trouble. Thank you.
Ms. Witt?
Well, the 4th of July is the time I wish I could be cloned, because as you know, for the last 15 years, I haven't made it due to family obligations in Kentucky. But I have heard so much about it. And the one thing that was brought to my attention, excuse me, is that parents were so thankful, especially when they had several kids, that the carnival rides were not there because they're so expensive. They said versus if by not having the carnival rides and them having to spend money for tickets or having their kids cry, they were able this year to buy food, especially the $8 ice creams. I don't have any clue as to what that was, but that was one thing that they said. They said, we hope they stay this way where everything's free but the food. So just wanted to pass that on, that they said it was spectacular. So
I'll just say on that, Chandler went around and talked to all the food trucks, and all of them already want to come back next year. It was so good. So.
But I would like to also say another thing. I got my information from Miami Valley Council, Communications Council, and normally I would open something like that and I would pitch it because I've always been satisfied with DPNL AES. And so I think it would be in our interest to keep reminding residents that they don't have to do anything if they want it, but if they want to opt out, they do have to send it back. And already I've had several people call. One lady called me today. I just want to make sure this is not a scam. And I said, it is not a scam. So as you see people, tell them that it's really a good thing, because I compared my price. And as you know, I was skeptical. And mine is it's going to be like almost 5 points difference in what I'm paying DPNL, AES.
Yep.
So that's all.
Okay. Mr. Miller, anything to report?
I just want to welcome the new firefighters and also congratulate Tracy on her promotion. Thanks.
Mr. Dougherty?
Yeah, I actually attended with my family the 4th of July celebration, and it was awesome. And there was a $15 funnel cakes there, but that was awesome too.
Wow.
Your mother thought so, right?
Right, she really got into her funnel cake.
Oh, my
But at the same time, the fireworks I think that's the best that I've seen as of late. They did seem to go on for the longest of time, and some low-lying things that we haven't even seen before. It was spectacular. So great job by Parks and Rec and all of staff. Everyone turned out and really took care of everything. I appreciate all you did. That's all.
Mr. Perchette?
Yes, I attended, and with my little girl Lily, and I think she went through every bouncy house at least 3 times there. You know, she really enjoyed that. I mean, she really did. We had a good time. That's all I have.
Yeah, I'd like to say I was there at the fireworks, and I thought it was great. I loved the fan. That fan, that was so different than anything I'd ever seen, where it was the big white fan and all of that. That was remarkable. But you know it was coming, you could take a picture of it, not knowing, but that was something that you would like to capture. I want to remind everyone about the fishing tomorrow night, the Jim McGuire Fishing. I'd like to congratulate all of our new firefighters and Tracy on her promotion. And I would also like to thank the Miami Valley Communications Council for broadcasting this meeting live, as well as any future broadcasts. And this regular council meeting is adjourned at 6:31. How's that? That was good.